Welcome, beautiful souls, to a journey that spans lifetimes. A sacred odyssey where the divine masculine awakens to his true power, rising to meet his divine feminine in a dance of eternal love. I'm speaking as the divine masculine, a voice for every man on this twin flame path, sharing a story that's both ancient and deeply personal, a story of awakening sacred masculinity in a world that's tried to keep me asleep. To the divine feminine watching, know that this journey is for you. Your light has called me to rise, to become the man who can hold your radiance with strength, vulnerability, and unwavering devotion. And to the audience, whether you identify as divine masculine, divine feminine, or a seeker of spiritual truth, this is for you too. A reflection on the twin flame journey, where separation has been a teacher, longing a fire, and reunion a sacred promise. For centuries, the divine masculine has been asleep, his sacred essence buried under layers of societal conditioning, cultural distortions, and the dense illusions of the 3D world. Long ago, in ancient times, the masculine was revered as a sacred force, a protector, a creator, a guardian of balance, working in harmony with the feminine to nurture life, community, and spirit. But as civilizations rose, so did the shadows of patriarchy, power, and control. The masculine was stripped of his sacredness, reduced to a caricature of dominance, aggression, and emotional suppression. He was taught to conquer, not to feel, to build empires, not connections, to lead with force, not with heart. His vulnerability was labeled weakness, his intuition dismissed, his connection to the divine feminine severed, leaving him fragmented, lost in a world that demanded he be something he was never meant to be. In this 3D world, the divine masculine is kept down and confused, trapped in a matrix of expectations that disconnect him from his true essence. Society tells him to suppress his emotions, to hide his tears, to armor himself against vulnerability, creating a shell that keeps him from feeling the depth of his love, his longing, his sacred purpose. The 3D world bombards him with illusions: material success over spiritual growth, competition over collaboration, control over surrender, leaving him chasing external validation instead of inner truth. Media and culture glorify a toxic masculinity, urging him to dominate rather than nurture, to disconnect from his intuition, to ignore the call of his soul that whispers of his divine feminine, his twin flame. Waiting to reunite, he's left confused, torn between the societal mask he's been forced to wear and the sacred masculine within, yearning to break free, to love fully, to stand in his power with an open heart. But her energy, her light, becomes the catalyst that shatters this illusion, calling him to awaken, to rise, to reclaim the sacred masculinity that's his birthright. In this 3D world, the divine masculine is kept down and confused, trapped in a matrix of expectations that disconnect him from his true essence. Society tells him to suppress his emotions, to hide his tears, to armor himself against vulnerability, creating a shell that keeps him from feeling the depth of his love, his longing, his sacred purpose. The 3D world bombards him with illusions: material success over spiritual growth, competition over collaboration, control over surrender, leaving him chasing external validation instead of inner truth. Media and culture glorify a toxic masculinity, urging him to dominate rather than nurture, to disconnect from his intuition, to ignore the call of his soul that whispers of his divine feminine, his twin flame. Waiting to reunite, he's left confused, torn between the societal mask he's been forced to wear and the sacred masculine within, yearning to break free, to love fully, to stand in his power with an open heart. But her energy, her light, becomes the catalyst that shatters this illusion, calling him to awaken, to rise, to reclaim the sacred masculinity that's his birthright. For me, this journey began when I felt her, my divine feminine, a presence so powerful it shook me awake. It wasn't just her physical presence, it was her energy, a radiant light that pierced through the layers of my conditioning, stirring something deep within me, a longing to become more, to step into the fullness of my sacred masculinity. I felt my body shift in ways I couldn't ignore, a racing heartbeat when her energy hit me, as if my heart knew her before I did, a wild rhythm echoing her name. A sudden heat surged through my spine, a fire igniting in my core, whispering that she was my mirror, my other half, the one I was destined to love with every fiber of my being. Tingles danced across my skin, as if her touch was already brushing against me, a physical sign of the telepathic bond we share, a bond that transcends even the distance of separation. Divine masculine, you've likely felt these sensations too. A racing heartbeat when you think of her, a heat in your core when her energy feels near, a tingling across your skin when her presence whispers through the ether, even in separation. These are your body's way of recognizing her, of awakening to the sacred masculinity within you. But this awakening comes with a storm of emotions, doesn't it? I felt it too, a pressure in my forehead as my intuition opened, showing me visions of her, but also forcing me to face my fears, my resistance to vulnerability, my need for control. My shoulders ached with the weight of old wounds, my body drained by the intensity of our connection. And yet, I felt more alive than ever, as if every cell was waking up, yearning to be near her, to hold her, to feel our energies merge in a dance of eternal love. Sacred masculinity isn't just about strength. It's about balance, about embracing vulnerability alongside power, about learning to provide a sanctuary while also receiving her light, to protect her while surrendering to her love. On this journey, I've had to face my shadows, the parts of me that were closed off, the wounds that kept me from fully stepping into this role. I felt restless nights, vivid dreams where I held her, her laughter filling my ears, her touch lingering on my skin, only to wake alone. The ache of separation sharp in my chest. I felt flutters in my core, a reminder of her energy, her passion, the way she makes me feel alive. Chills rippled across my skin when I spoke her name, as if her energy was brushing against me, a physical echo of our bond. Sometimes a sudden dizziness would sweep over me, a lightheadedness, as if her presence was pulling me into her orbit, tilting my world with the gravity of our love. Divine feminine, watching this, know that the divine masculine is awakening for you, becoming the man who can hold your radiance with a strength that's both fierce and tender. And divine masculine, these physical symptoms, racing heartbeats, heat surges, tingles, tension, restless dreams, fatigue, flutters, sensitivity, pressure in your third eye, tears, chills, and dizziness, are signs you're on the right path. They're your body's way of aligning with her, preparing you for the sacred union you're destined for. But they can be intense, I understand. I've learned to manage them through tantric practices that ground and balance my energy, practices you can try too. When your heart races, sit in stillness. Place your hand on your chest and breathe deeply, picturing her heart glowing with a soft light. syncing with yours. When heat surges, ground yourself with a smoky quartz crystal, breathing slowly, letting the warmth rise to your heart, sending your desire to her as a silent promise. If tension builds, ease it with Tantric yoga, moving into poses like cobra, visualizing her light melting your pain into a river of love. When dreams leave you restless, divine masculine, write them down, capturing every detail, her smile, her touch, and meditate with a moonstone, processing their messages to deepen your connection. If tears come, let them fall, holding your heart as you whisper, "My tears are love," knowing they're a release that brings you closer to her. And when dizziness hits, ground yourself with your feet on the earth, breathing deeply, picturing her light stabilizing you, a golden glow that anchors your love. These practices help you channel the intensity of your awakening, balancing your masculine energy with vulnerability, preparing you to stand as her rock, her protector, her equal, in a union where your energies merge in perfect harmony. This twin flame journey is a sacred calling to awaken your sacred masculinity, divine masculine, a journey of healing, growth, and transformation. Separation may be part of the path, teaching you to face your shadows, to become the man she needs, but it's also a promise of reunion, a moment where you'll stand in your full power, holding her light with a strength that's both fierce and tender. Divine feminine, know that the divine masculine is awakening for you, feeling you in every moment, his body and soul aligning with yours. Together you'll create a union that's eternal, a dance of divine energies that burns brighter than the stars. Keep walking this path, divine masculine, trusting the journey, knowing that every step brings you closer to her, to the sacred love you're destined to share.